How does Bob's Burgers teach us? Some of the best stories have an important message the writer is trying to demonstrate, either through a moral or something more subtle. The old Greek Aesop fables taught adults the value of honesty, sharing, love, and humility. Today, it feels like morals in television shows and movies are just used as an ironic joke to make us feel goofy about wanting to be a good person. But I think Bob's Burgers has really shifted that mentality and helped us to feel more connected to the message and meaning of an episode without making us feel small or guilty. Bob's Burgers teaches us in many ways, and I could make several videos on the way this show has created teachable moments. But there are 3 main points I want to focus on for this video essay. But before I get started, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible positive response I have gotten from my first video. The new subscribers that have added my channel to their list, and the many lovely comments you have left about Bob's Burgers and how it heals you. Some of you left very heartfelt and personal comments about how this show has uplifted you throughout the years, and it felt so amazing to get such positive reception of something that has been very special to me. I'm so excited to continue making these videos for us as a newfound community to appreciate together. Thank you so much for your love and support, and now let's get back to the video. How does Bob's Burgers teach us? Teachable moments come to us in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it could be something simple like a communication breakdown. Other times it's more complex, like getting into a car accident and lying about it to avoid trouble. But I want to focus on teachable moments that are much more nuanced. How does the amazing Rudy teach us about being an only child? Being an only child can sometimes feel very strange. I'm an only child, and growing up, it was really weird getting asked questions like, "Is it lonely being an only child?" Or, "I bet you get spoiled as an only child." Watching movies and television shows as an only child makes you feel like an alien because almost everyone in a show has siblings, and those siblings are a huge part of the story. Sometimes they fight and give off vibes of sibling rivalry, but for the most part, the siblings will make up and the story will end on a positive note. But whenever there are only children in movies, their lives are depicted as very challenging and unfulfilled. Being an only child feels like a burden, but we as only children had no control over that element of our lives. We had no choice in whether or not our parents made the decision to have more children. And yet we are asked questions related to siblings as though we had some kind of say in the matter. Rudy Stieblitz is the epitome of an only child. And since his parents are separated, I feel even more connected to his story. I also grew up in a 2-home family, and neither really made me feel welcome or seen. My birthdays were always kind of sad, and my parents had very different expectations of a structured home life. There are only a few episodes that focus on Rudy and his home life, but they give a lot of information about how it feels to be an only child. If you are an only child, you probably have a real fear of being left out. So we tend to be very agreeable and even incorrigible. This is demonstrated in 2 episodes. Carpe Museum, when Louise convinces Rudy to go with her into the Amazon exhibit, Rudy ditches his backpack. He tosses it without thinking about his inhaler because he doesn't want to lose Louise as a friend. He wants to seem cool and easygoing, so he just does what she says without thinking about the long-term repercussions. Then again, in the House of 1,000 Bounces. I can relate to birthdays that don't go as planned. Being an only child is filled with birthday parties that are thrown together at the last minute and with very little thought or imagination put into them. And because of this, we're good at improvising our fun and enjoying the moment. But the kids in Bob's Burgers in A House of a Thousand Bounces are not thinking about Rudy in this moment. They're more focused on having a bounce house. Louise learned a really important message in this moment. Rather than being angry for Rudy on his behalf, for not getting the bounce house for his birthday, she should have been more present with him and played along with the plans that he had in mind to make puppets and do a skit. This is something that was important to him, probably because as an only child, one of the only things we have is our imagination. That's why Rudy loves his stuffed fish pancake and likes to play games and sports. All these allow for a sense of imagination and emotional freedom. At the end of this episode, Louise realizes that her lack of humility caused Rudy to feel unseen, which is something that he already experiences on a regular basis. Being moved from house to house and feeling like the parents are hyper-focused on finding new partners and not having to deal with Rudy on certain days or weekends. This is a painful realization. In the second episode of the 14th season of Bob's Burgers, we follow the Lovebirds to the Stieblitz home and find the average day of our favorite only child in the story. We see where Rudy's anxiety and social awkwardness comes from by the way his dad creates unnecessary stress for the both of them. We are made aware of how weird it feels to meet our parents' new partners. And as an only child, we are taught to be on our best behavior because we feel like if our parents' new partners don't enjoy our company, we will be blamed for the relationship falling apart. There is so much pressure on Rudy in this episode to be a really stable child. But when Rudy gets bad magic advice from the magic shop, we see how only children are easily sold nonsense products because we don't have other people to bounce ideas off of. Vicky's reaction really bothers me.
Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen.
I understand that it really sucks when we stain a piece of clothing that's important to us. And it probably startled her to have something come out of the cup and fall onto her clothing. But in all honesty, her reaction allowed Rudy to feel humiliated, and it probably scared him. When children are trying to do something new and creative, it's really important for us as adults who have autonomy and who have the ability to fix problems without struggling with the social situation. We need to give them, as children, as much positive reinforcement as we can so they don't overreact, which is exactly what happened to Rudy. He ran away from the restaurant because he felt so embarrassed and ashamed of spilling something that an adult told him would be safe. So you can see how all of these things enable Rudy to have shame in something that makes him feel safe. This episode makes me cry every time I watch it because I can't tell you how many times as an only child I was excited about something and either no one cared or no one understood how much it meant to me. When Rudy runs out of the restaurant, the first time I watched this episode, I was immediately worried for him because I'm familiar with how it feels to just want to run away. And running away can create a lot more problems than solve what's actually happening. The parents didn't know how to make Rudy feel better, and he knew that. And because I'm familiar with the show, I knew that nothing really bad would happen to Rudy. I knew that he wouldn't get physically hurt, but I was worried about his mental health and stability. He needed someone to see him. He needed a friend to recognize how much pain he was in without judgment or humiliation. He went to the place we all feel the safest in this show. He found Bob's Burgers, and the Belchers were just finishing up at the restaurant for the evening. Linda let him come up to dinner, and the kids could tell there was something a little bit off. But this is where the show makes me feel so warm and happy. As an only child, it's really hard for me to understand what it feels like to have siblings. But this moment really narrows in on how it feels to be given complete acceptance from the people who you need it from the most. Jean literally calls Rudy brother, and Louise struggles to leave Rudy alone with an adult because she can see how much he just wants to be around people his own age. She jokes about being his magician's assistant and allows him the autonomy to make the decision he wants to make, which is to walk back to the restaurant and face the rest of the night with his parents. As an only child, this is the closest I can come to understanding what it feels like to have siblings. Having people close to your age who see you and who want you to feel welcome and accepted without changing your values. When you are forced to be in a group setting as a child, when you are surrounded by adults, it can feel really overwhelming. And so having peers around you as an only child is a great relief. As only children, we are expected to grow up so fast because we aren't given moments to be around other children. When Louise gave Rudy that freedom to be around another kid his own age, it gave him more confidence and let him shake off the fear of facing Vicky in her potentially stained suede pants. Thank you so much for watching this far into my video. If you're still engaged, it means that you really understand how special this show is to me and how it taught me through its amazing storytelling how to be a better friend and let go of any pain I have from being an only child. Please like and comment to let me know that I am on the right track. If you like this video and want more content on our favorite primetime television show, be sure to subscribe to Bob's Burgers Chronicles. This brings me to my next idea about how we learn from Bob's Burgers: friendship and humility. Something that I have always struggled with is finding friends. I'm so grateful that I met my husband. He has become my best friend, and I bounce a lot of my ideas for videos and life decisions off of him. But all throughout my life, I have never had much luck with friendships. Since October of 2020, I have stopped trying to make friends. After a really bad Halloween party, it resulted in me getting physically hurt by the host of the party, who I thought was potentially going to be my friend. Too much alcohol on her part and a touch of jealousy led to the worst night of my life. Since then, I have decided that I like to feel safe at home. With the ongoing quarantine and a subscription to Hulu, I stopped trying to make friends and just focused on myself. I would color in coloring books, make candles, and watch Bob's Burgers on repeat. And the more I watched the show, the more I realized that I felt like the characters in the show were the closest things to friends that I had. They were always there for me. They kept me from making careless decisions and encouraged me to be self-caring. Tina encouraged me to be creative, Jean encouraged me to be authentic, and Louise encouraged me to be strong. Less and less, I worried about how people saw me, and I focused on how I wanted to see myself. Bob's Burgers teaches us that friends are hard to come by. And when you click with someone, you shouldn't worry about how other people see them. Andy and Ollie are some of the first friendships we see blossom in the show. Louise and Jean click with these crazy twins right off the bat. Louise and Rudy have really strong friendships that feel like it could blossom into something more romantic when they get older. Meanwhile, Tina tries to develop a friendship with the new girl Tammy, but we learn as time goes on that Tina clicks better with boys and is friends with people like Zeke, Jimmy Jr., and Daryl. Even though these aren't the most popular people in school, they are part of the Belcher friendships because they are consistent. That is the overall message we can take from Bob's Burgers. Friends aren't necessarily who you want them to be. Friends are people who are there for you when you need them, and they give you confidence and help you learn from your mistakes without judging you. And above all else, friends don't hurt you. Something I really appreciate about this show that is closely related to friendship is how it teaches us humility. We don't have to be friends with the world, but there are moments when we should recognize that people need our help, even if we aren't close to them. Luis is a good example of someone who is protective of people when they are being bullied. An example is when she gets in trouble at school for pantsing a bully who was playing catch with miniature Rudy's lunchbox. Linda was worried that Luis would stop helping people and have humility if she allowed Mr. Frond to discipline her. So she went out of her way to let Luis out of in-school suspension without compromising her relationship with Mr. Frond to stay in the school bake sale. Gene learns humility when he is really disrespectful to Courtney and tries to stay in a relationship with her to be close to her dad's music equipment. And Tina learns humility when she tries to have multiple boyfriends at a school dance. We learn to appreciate these moments of humility from our Belcher friends because we are too often put in positions where being mean is easier than allowing ourselves to be humble and loving. Something that I am reminded of when I watch Bob's Burgers is there are really only two emotions. We are capable of expressing love and fear. If we are not able to show humility, it is because we are afraid of something. In moments of desperation, we should evaluate why we feel threatened and let it go when we are feeling strong again. Friendship, humility, and having siblings are big focus points of Bob's Burgers. And we learn from each of these ideas to be more accepting and understanding of each other through these different lenses. We don't have to be friends with everyone, but we should always stand up for people when they are being bullied if they can't defend themselves. We should show humility for people when they need a moment of kindness. And we should show people familial love when they are feeling lonely and unseen. I love Bob's Burgers for these invaluable lessons. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you so much again for watching my videos. To all of my new subscribers, I hope you find this video just as wonderful and insightful as the first. You inspire me to make more videos about my favorite television show. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the show.